Bringing this, Mr. Speaker, is because the abductions that are happening.
Use the portable microphone.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because the abductions that are happening in this country are happening at two levels. One, within structured authorities of governance in this country, and number two, outside those structures. But I think that if there is a force in dealing with the issues of abductions within. Mr. Speaker, I wanted to comment about the statement by Senator Ezio Kenyuri. Mr. Speaker, as a young person in this country, Mr. Speaker, it breaks my heart when constantly it seems as though we cannot be able to contain the problem of abduction of young people. And Mr. Speaker, I wanted just to inquire whether there is anything this House can do for resolutions that we have passed, and especially at a presidential level, Mr. Speaker, that aren't followed through. Because, Mr. Speaker, in July, we did pass a resolution here at the heart of chaos in this country. And those resolutions, Mr. Speaker, went to the president of this country. And among the issues that were supposed to be dealt with, apart from just compensation of young people who were affected during the Gen Z movement, Mr. Speaker, we also implored upon the president, Mr. Speaker, that the issue of abductions be responded to very strongly, Mr. Speaker. The reason why I'm bringing this, Mr. Speaker, is because the abductions that are happening.
Use the portable microphone.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because the abductions that are happening in this country are happening at two levels. One, within structured authorities of governance in this country, and number two, outside those structures. But I think that if there is a force in dealing with the issues of abductions within structure of security in this country, Mr. Speaker, there will be an equal response to those who are doing it outside the structure, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I wanted to inquire, and perhaps the majority leader can help us on this, Mr. Speaker, that if we end up having some resolutions in this House, Mr. Speaker, that can be able to pick on some of these issues that we are seeing in terms of abductions in the country, Mr. Speaker, that sometimes end up affecting the security infrastructure, Mr. Speaker, can we know how, if they're not responded to, Mr. Speaker, thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I think that it starts by making sure that the abductions that happen within the security infrastructure in this country, Mr. Speaker, are dealt with for once and for all, Mr. Speaker, so that those who are doing it outside the security infrastructure can take it more serious, Mr. Speaker, that you are saying point of order and young people are dying outside here, young people are being abducted, and they're becoming uneasy when there is no security infrastructure in the country.
What is your point of order, Senator Oro? We have heard you.
You're just shouting.
Mr. My mic. My mic. Mr. Speaker.
I can lend you mine.
Mr. Speaker, understanding order 105, I have listened to Senator Oketch talking about abductions happening within the structures of government and outside other structures. And Mr. Speaker, you know, there's an allegation there being placed on, I'm not even sure whether he's targeting an individual in government, whether he's, because he has also mentioned the president at one point. Can he substantiate these structures within government where he's saying that are being used for abduction? Perhaps he knows of a unit, a particular unit that he can even just mention, so that even us as senators, we can come out and call out that unit. We would like to know which is this inside government, maybe, and if he cannot substantiate, he must apologize and withdraw, because this is the upper house. This is not the National Assembly. This is a house of records, a house of procedure, and we carry ourselves with facts. Mr. Speaker, let him substantiate.
Mr.
which you have to substantiate. The structured abductions.
Mr. Speaker,
Senator Fernandez.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I was very clear about the document which is a resource of this House that has gone to the President. In that document, we were very clear about a number of issues that we complained about. Unless Senator Gloria was not in this House to listen to what was being discussed in this House, Mr. Speaker, I am very clear in my mind, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, let me say this, Mr. Speaker. Maybe Senator Gloria is comfortable because any of her family members have never been abducted. But abduction of young people in this country must stop. And they happen within the structure of security in this country as well as outside the structure of this country. You might make noise as much as you want, but I can assure you that one day your own family member or your own relative will be abducted and you won't be sitting pretty. We must stop the abduction of young people in this country. It must stop.
Senator Eddie. Order, honorable Senator. Senator Eddie. Order, Senator Fernandez, take your seat. Now, order, Senator Joyce Correct. Order, honorable Senator. This is the House. Senator Eddie, you are supposed to address the chair, not your colleagues. You've been called upon to substantiate an allegation that you've made. Order, honorable senators.
Mr. Speaker.
Sit down, Senator Eddie. Where are you going? Sit down. Sit down. The chair is speaking. Senator for Kilifi, let the chair handle this. Now, Senator Roba rose on a point of order on this allegation that you've said there are structured abductions within the system. So, you've been called upon to substantiate those allegations. What did you mean by structured abductions within government? Instead of responding to that, you've been shouting back at your colleagues. Proceed, Senator Eddie, to substantiate. If you're not in a position to do that today, you know exactly what to do.
Mr. Speaker,
Order.
Mr. Speaker,
Can the senator be heard inside?
Mr. Speaker, it is not my role as a senator of Migori to focus the Senator Oruoba in this House. I refer to a resolution of this House, Mr. Speaker, that is a property of the House passed by all of us. And
Order.
that resolution, Mr. Speaker, that resolution, if you read it, Mr. Speaker, it talks about abductions and killings that this Senate was tired of, addressed to government. Mr. Speaker, if it is addressed to government, Mr. Speaker, and
Senator.
it has not been responded to, Mr.
Eddie,
Speaker.
Senator Eddie, order. Senator Joyce, I caution you. You proceed, I'll throw you out of the chamber. Now, Senator Eddie, look for that document and read the particular resolution that you're relying on. And I'm giving you to do that tomorrow. You may not be able to get the document right away. Look for that document and read that particular resolution that supports your allegation.
Mr. Speaker,
let's proceed. Have a seat.
Mr. Speaker, I hadn't finished. They ate on my time, Mr. Speaker. They ate on my time.
Sit down. Take your seat.
Mr. Speaker, you are giving them some. They ate on my time.
Take your seat. Senator